The call came before I heard my daughter's voice. That was the part that told me something had gone wrong in a way apologies could not fix. "Mrs. Harrison," the man said, careful and slow. "This is Thomas Bennett. I represent your family. We have a serious problem. They're saying you stepped away. Stepped away from what I asked." There was a pause. The kind lawyers leave when they are choosing which truth to say first. "From the arrangements you put in place. From everything that depends on your name." I thanked him, ended the call, and looked at my phone. 46 missed calls. Some from Carolyn, some from numbers I did not recognize. A handful marked urgent. As if urgency could be declared by tapping a screen hard enough. The story you are about to hear is a work of fiction, created to convey lessons about family emotions and human values. All characters and events are illustrative. My name is Margaret Harrison. I am 72 years old. I buried my husband 5 winters ago, and I learned early that grief does not cancel responsibility. It sharpens it. Robert left me the keys to what we built because he trusted me to know when to use them and when to lock the door. I scrolled back to the voicemail from the night before and pressed play. Carolyn's voice was steady, almost professional. "You're out. Don't come back. We're moving on without you." No explanation, no tremor, just a decision.
She sounded practicing.
I listened again. Then I sat very still. I did not call her. I did not ask what she meant. I opened a text window and typed one word. "Okay." The reply dots appeared. Vanished.
Appeared again.
My phone buzzed with another incoming call. I set it face down on the table and poured coffee. I did not drink. By the time the screen lit up again, the calls were stacking faster. Messages shifted in tone. Shorter, softer. A different kind of need crept into the words. I let it ring. When someone tells you to leave, there is a moment where you decide whether you will take only your feelings or everything that was ever trusted to you. Carolyn had learned somewhere along the way that if she raised her voice long enough, I would step in and smooth things over. I had done it for decades with teachers, with landlords, with her father. When his temper flared and his patience ran out, I fixed schedules, paid late fees, rewrote plans. I was the one who made problems smaller, so everyone else could breathe. After Robert died, that habit didn't disappear. It hardened into structure. "You're better with numbers." Carolyn told me back then. Dad always said that. So I took over. I kept the books for what we owned. I organized the trust the way Robert wanted it, slow and careful with rules that assumed people might change when money got tight. Thomas Bennett explained the paperwork in plain language. And Robert squeezed my hand and said, "If anything happens to me, I want you holding the pen." That is how I became a co-trustee. Not by favor, not by accident.
My phone buzzed again.
A text from Carolyn this time. "Answer me." I didn't. Another message followed. Sharper. "You don't get to ignore me after what you did." What I did. The phrase sat there like a lie, waiting for proof. I opened my laptop instead of my mouth. The familiar folders came up. Neat and dated. Trust documents. Authorization clauses. The section Robert insisted on. The one that required my approval for any change that carried my name. I read it once, then again. Not to reassure myself, but to confirm what I already knew. Thomas's number appeared on my screen before I could call him. "I'm not asking you to explain anything," he said when I answered. "I just need to know if you want me to proceed as written." "Yes," I said. "Proceed as written." There was relief in his silence. "All right, Margaret. I'll handle the rest." When I closed the laptop, my phone was still buzzing. The messages had shifted again. Less accusation, more urgency. I left them unread. Silence, I had learned, was not empty. It was a boundary people ran into when they assumed access was permanent. I logged into the trust portal with the same password Robert and I had agreed on years ago. Nothing dramatic, no alarms, just a familiar screen asking me to confirm my identity. I did. The permissions were still exactly where we had left them. That mattered. It meant nothing had been finalized without me. No matter what Carolyn believed, I adjusted the signing authority according to the clause Robert insisted on adding, the one that required my approval for any change tied to my name. 2 clicks, One confirmation. My phone rang as I was finishing. Thomas again, I saw the update. He said, clean and within scope. That's the point, I replied. I don't want anything that can be argued later.
There won't be, he said.
I'll document it and notify the bank. A pause. Margaret, has anyone been asking for access on your behalf? I glanced at the screen. A notification had just appeared at the top. New device login attempt. Location unfamiliar.
Browser not mine.
Yes, I said. Someone has. Thomas exhaled slowly. Then this was timely. Another text came in from Carolyn. Stop doing this. You're making things worse. I didn't respond. I watched the login alert timeout and disappear. Whoever it was didn't have what they needed. That told me more than any argument could. Carolyn hadn't just expected me to leave quietly. She had expected the door to stay unlocked. Thomas spoke again. I'm flagging this internally. If anyone claims authorization from you, they'll need it in writing.
Good.
I said they won't have it. When the call ended, my phone buzzed immediately. This time it was a call from an unknown number. I let it ring once, twice, then go to voicemail. The message followed seconds later. Carolyn's voice again. No longer steady. You need to call me back. They're saying you changed things. You can't just do that without talking to me. I played it once, then deleted it. I didn't change anything that wasn't already mine to change. I didn't break trust. I enforced it. The silence that followed was heavier than before. Not because nothing was happening, but because something had failed. And whoever was on the other side of that locked door was starting to understand that I hadn't taken only my feelings with me. Susan Patel answered on the second ring. Margaret, she said, cautious in a way people get when they already know the call won't be small.
I was just about to reach out.
I won't keep you guessing, I said. What's the closing timeline?
A breath.
48 hours. Then listen carefully, I said. I'm withdrawing as co-borrower and guarantor effective immediately. Silence stretched thin and uncomfortable. That's significant, Susan said. Your name is the anchor on the financing. I'm aware, I replied. She lowered her voice. Carolyn told me you might be unavailable. She said you weren't well.
Did she?
I said. Susan didn't rush to fill the pause. She said it kindly, she added, as if kindness could carry weight in a file. I am available, I said. And I'm well enough to put this in writing. I need that. Susan said quickly. For liability, you'll have it, I said. And you'll copy everyone you've been communicating with. Another pause. Margaret, if you step out now, the deal may not survive. I'm not stepping out, I said. I'm removing my name, she swallowed, understood. I opened my email while she stayed on the line. I dictated slowly the way Robert taught me to when words mattered. This message confirms my withdrawal as co-borrower and guarantor from the pending purchase. Any representation to the contrary is unauthorized. I attached the pre-approval letter with my name highlighted, not to dramatize it, but to make it impossible to misunderstand. I've sent it, I said. Susan's reply came back within seconds. Received. I will pause the file. Thank you, I said. When we hung up, my phone vibrated again. Carolyn, this time a voice note instead of text. What are you doing? She said, breathless. You can't pull this now. Everyone's watching. You're making me look unstable. I listened without interrupting. Then set the phone down. The word she used settled where it belonged. The confirmation from Susan arrived next. File paused pending clarification. Another message followed, copied wider than before. I didn't respond. I let the paper trail speak. By the time the next call came through, the tone had changed. Not anger, not command, urgency. Carolyn's messages changed tone before they changed words. The accusations disappeared first, then the certainty. What remained was urgency. Stripped of posture. Call me now. This is getting out of hand. We can fix this if you just answer. I didn't. Derek tried next. He had always been polite to me, careful in the way people are when they know whose name steadies the room. Margaret, he said when I finally picked up, his voice low and quick. We don't need to make this bigger than it is. Just fix it. Fix what? I asked. The confusion, he said. The timing, the paperwork. Everyone's upset. Everyone, I said, or Carolyn a beat. She's under a lot of pressure. So am I said and ended the call. I opened a new folder on my computer and labeled it plainly. Dates, times, screenshots, voicemails. I saved Carolyn's messages without listening again. I noted Derek's call. I didn't add commentary. I didn't need to. The phone rang again, an unknown number this time. I let it go. The voicemail arrived seconds later. Thomas's voice was measured, but the edges were tight. Margaret, please call me today. There are representations being made that require your confirmation. I replayed that sentence once, then again. Representations. Confirmation. Words that meant someone was speaking in my name. Carolyn sent another text. Shorter than the rest. They're saying you changed things. I typed back for the first time since that single word the night before. I did. The reply came immediately, then undo it. I set the phone down and continued organizing the file. Each item slid into place with a click that felt heavier than sound. The calls kept coming. Some I recognized, some I didn't. I didn't block them. I wanted the record intact. By early afternoon, the messages softened further. Please just talk. We can explain. Thomas called again. I answered this time. They want your signature, he said without preamble. And they don't have it. No, I said they don't. The silence on the line was brief, but telling. When he spoke again, his voice was steadier. Then I'll need to slow this down, he said. That would be wise, I replied. When the call ended, my phone lit up once more. Carolyn again. No words this time. Just a missed call, then another. I watched the screen until it went dark, aware that whatever had been set in motion before my name was removed had not been built to stand without it. Thomas didn't waste time when I answered. I need you to hear this clearly, he said. There are draft documents circulating that name Carolyn as successor trustee. I stayed quiet. They reference your approval, he continued. Slower now. Your name is there, but your signature isn't. That's because I didn't sign anything, I said. I know, he replied. That's the problem. He explained the timing next. The drafts had been prepared to move just before the real estate closing when attention would be split and urgency could be used as leverage. If they had gone through, Carolyn would have gained authority the moment the deal finalized. And you're certain nothing was filed? I said. Certain? Thomas said. Incomplete documents don't hold up, especially not like this. I leaned back and listened to him lay it out. The sequence, the assumptions, the quiet confidence someone must have had to move forward without my consent. There's a word for this, he said finally. Unauthorized. I let that sit between us. Have you spoken to Carolyn about it? He asked. No, I said, and I don't plan to. Thomas exhaled. Then I'm freezing everything on my end. Any request that comes in claiming to represent you will be denied unless it's in writing and directly from you.
Good, I said.
He hesitated. Margaret, this wasn't a misunderstanding. Someone believed you wouldn't push back. I understand. I said after we hung up, my phone buzzed again. Carolyn, this time calling instead of texting. I let it ring until it stopped. A message followed immediately. They're telling me you're blocking things. You never said you'd do this. I typed slowly. I didn't need to. The response came fast. You're doing this to hurt me. I looked at the drafts Thomas had emailed, my name printed neatly at the bottom, a blank line waiting where my signature should have been. That empty space felt deliberate. I'm doing this because you tried to move without me, I typed back. And you were prepared to do it quietly. There was no reply. The silence that followed wasn't confusion. It was recalculation. Someone was realizing the plan they had rehearsed depended on me staying in the role I had just stepped out of, and that role was no longer available. Carolyn's message came just after noon. 5 minutes. No arguing, please. There was no accusation left in it, just urgency dressed up as humility. I replied with a time and an address. Then I added one line more. I'll bring documents. She didn't acknowledge that part when she arrived. She didn't sit right away. She hovered like the room might decide something before she did. I don't know why this turned into such a mess. She said, you took one voicemail and assumed the worst. I nodded once and waited. I was upset, she continued. Things have been stressful. I didn't mean you were actually out. I just needed space. And then suddenly, everything froze. I kept my hands folded. I didn't reach for my bag.
You could have called me, she said. Softer now. You always call me. That wasn't what you asked for, I said.
She blinked.
What?
You told me not to come back, I said. So I didn't. Her mouth opened, then closed again. That's not what I meant. I know. I said it's what you said. She exhaled sharply. Irritation flickering through the apology. You're twisting this. You locked things without telling me. You embarrassed me with the agent. People are asking questions. I nodded again, still listening. Still, this could have been handled privately, she added. Now, it looks like I don't know what I'm doing. I reached into my bag and placed the folder on the table between us. I didn't open it. I didn't need to yet. Finish, I said. She hesitated, then pressed on. I was trying to help.
Dad trusted me.
You make everything about control. I let the words land. Every one of them. When she finally stopped, the silence felt earned. I'm glad you're done. I said. She frowned. That's it. That's it, I said. Now it's my turn. I slid the folder closer, still closed, the weight of it shifting the space between us. Carolyn's eyes dropped to it before she could stop herself. The confidence she had walked in with did not follow her gaze. I opened the folder and laid the papers out in a straight line. Not for effect, but because order matters when people start rewriting history. This is the voicemail, I said, tapping the first page. Left at 9:23 in the evening. I looked at Carolyn. You told me not to come back. She crossed her arms. I already said I didn't mean it like that. I slid the next page forward. This is the access change. 9:32, 7 minutes later. Then another. This is my withdrawal from the purchase. Sent at 8:12 the next morning. Another. These are the calls that followed. 46 of them. Between 8:15 and 10:30. Her mouth tightened. You planned this. No, I said I responded to what you said. Thomas cleared his throat. He had joined us quietly, seated to the side, a legal pad on his knee. Margaret, may I? I nodded. He lifted one of the documents Carolyn hadn't touched yet. These are draft amendments prepared before the closing, he said. They name Carolyn as successor trustee. Margaret's approval is referenced, but her signature is absent. Carolyn shook her head. Those were just ideas. Nothing was filed. That's correct, Thomas said. But presenting them as authorized would have been a serious issue. Unauthorized use of someone's name carries legal risk. The word hung there, heavier now that it had witnesses. I was trying to protect us, Carolyn said, her voice rising. She was pulling away. Someone had to step up. You stepped over, Thomas said calmly. Carolyn turned to me. You let him talk to me like that. I invited him. I said, because you were talking for me. Her arguments began to fold in on themselves. She reached for intention, for stress, for misunderstanding. None of it landed. The timestamps didn't argue back. The documents didn't soften. When she finally stopped speaking, no one rushed to fill the space. The room went quiet in a way that did not feel empty. It felt settled. I gathered the papers and closed the folder. You told me I was out. I said I believed you, and I left exactly the way the structure allowed. Carolyn looked at the closed folder like it had made the decision for her. In a way, it had. Thomas finalized the changes the following morning. He read them aloud before sending anything through, the way he did when he wanted there to be no room for confusion later. Access limited to existing trustees only. He said no successor designation without written consent from all parties. No emergency authority. And Carolyn, I said, she's removed from all access. He replied, present and future. I closed my eyes once, not in relief, but in acceptance. Proceed. The confirmation arrived an hour later. Then another. The trust as Robert designed, it was sealed tighter than before. Nothing dramatic had been taken away. Something assumed had simply ended. Susan called next. Her voice sounded lighter. The financing has been restructured, she said. The deal is moving forward without Carolyn's involvement. That's fine, I said. She's been asking if there's a way back in. There isn't, I replied. There was a pause. Understood. Carolyn tried again that evening, not with anger, with calculation. We don't have to make this permanent, she said when I answered. You've made your point. Let's talk about what it would take to smooth this over.
I'm listening, I said.
She exhaled, relieved too quickly. If you reinstate my access, we can move forward as a family. I'll step back where you want. We'll figure out the rest together. I let the words settle before responding. That isn't reconciliation, I said. That's negotiation. Silence stretched on her end. You taught me to fix things, she said finally. I'm asking you to do that now. I fixed what mattered. I said, I fixed the structure, so you're just cutting me out. She said, the edge creeping back in. No, I replied. I'm stepping away from being leveraged. She didn't argue after that. She didn't apologize either. The call ended without ceremony. Later that night, Thomas sent one final message. All updates complete. No further action required. I closed my laptop and sat with the quiet that followed. It wasn't triumphant. It wasn't cruel. It was clean. What I took with me wasn't money or control. It was the assumption that my presence was guaranteed no matter how I was treated. The quiet that followed surprised me. Not because I expected chaos, but because for the first time, nothing needed my attention. No calls asking me to smooth things over, no messages framed as emergencies. The structure held, and with it, my peace. Carolyn tried once more. Days later, her voice was steady again. Practice the way it used to be, when she wanted something. I just want to understand where I stand, she said. I need clarity. You have it, I replied. That's not fair, she said quickly. I'm your daughter. I know, I said. That isn't the question anymore. She waited for the opening she was used to. It didn't come. What happens now? She asked. Now you live with the choices you made, I said. And I live without being responsible for them. She exhaled sharply. So that's it. That's it, I said. After the call ended, I didn't feel victorious. I felt settled. Robert used to say, real security doesn't announce itself. It just works. The trust functioned as designed. The deal moved forward without my name attached to anyone else's urgency. I remained in my home. Not because I had stayed, but because I had chosen to. A few weeks later, Thomas checked in. Everything's holding, he said. No new requests, no back channels. Good, I replied. He hesitated. For what it's worth, you handled this the right way. I handled it the only way that lasts. I said, here's the lesson I didn't learn until my 70s. Love without boundaries becomes permission. And permission once assumed is hard to take back unless you are willing to be misunderstood. I love my daughter. I still do. But I stopped letting love be used as leverage against my work, my name, and my calm. Being told, don't come back sounded like exile at first. It turned out to be an invitation to stop explaining, stop rescuing, and stop giving access to things that cost me years to build. I didn't go back.